Okay, I'll be back in like 5 minutes.
Hmm. Well, my background is my character is a woodsman.
That doesn't.
Well, the reason I say he's a woodsman is that he finds a lot of weird crap. He might have stumbled on some weird cult and kept some artifact. And when he got hit by the lightning, yeah, I know, but I'm playing this to have fun, not to min max. I honestly have not talked to her about it because this is the first time I was like, hold on a minute. It doesn't really make sense that my character, who is a dwarven archer, can now suddenly cast Rays of Frost out of his hand. How do I
Well,
explain
I mean,
this?
it's an art. You're an arcane archer, so it's actually a bit of a natural progression because you do learn cantrips from the arcane archer subclass. So it's honestly not that huge of a leap to like make the RP in game from arcane archer to wizard because you do learn a little bit of magic.
Yeah, it's
True.
it can make sense as you've been imbued with some magic from the whole incident. You said, yummy, this is nice, and then you go looking for more.
Yeah, but the problem is with the wizard, you have to learn all you learn all your spells. You have to physically learn them, unlike say with a sorcerer.
Yeah, but Toren can read.
I've never
Yes,
played a sorcerer. What's the catch with them? I know with warlocks they only have 2 spell slots.
and less known spells as well. But you do get to be more flexible with magic, with your meta magic. So like yeah, they're like the gifted kids where they're more like less diversified, but their relationship with magic is closer, whereas wizards are effectively nerds who have a broad, wider range that might be you could argue is more superficial, but much more diverse.
Yeah. I'll I'll come up with something as we go. What was the last half of that? You kind of cut out for me. Sorry. Okay, I'm DMing Erica about something.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, I mean,
there's nothing
generally,
stopping
I
it from.
mean, oh no, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, yeah, I mean, and there's nothing stopping that from, having happened or been set in motion already. So, but yeah, go ahead, Cody. What were you saying?
I mean, just in general, it's not like nobody really has to justify their level up choices when they pick another class. It's just it might be nice, but I don't think it really has to be that detailed.
Yeah, it really could be. 2 weeks ago, I found a book.
Well,
Or
I DM'd Erica and she said, "Oh, don't worry, I have some ideas on."
Yeah, I'm sure if you ask Erica, it's like, hey, my character wants to randomly get some magic powers. Again, that's something she can arrange.
oh, actually, I'm thinking about it. The way wizards get spells when they level up is, in their downtime, they've, basically been playing around with the weave. So it really could be as simple as you got some magic, you played around with the magic, expanded the magic, and you wrote it down.
Right, yeah. Like it literally that it could be he could retcon that literally any time that we weren't looking at Toren, he was like had his face in some fucking book, and there'd be no way to prove it because we're not looking at him all the time. I don't think Cypress has looked at him once.
Are you telling me Cypress isn't constantly monitoring Toren?
Well, now that Phineas is gone, his guard is way down, so Toren can get away with anything.
Yeah, because I'm not actively killing people or
Yeah.
taking them down for money.
Like, oh, he's not putting the group in massive harm's way. Whatever he's doing has to be fine. I don't care what it is.
If anything, he's only put himself in harm's way so far.
Yeah, if you want to take personal risks, you go right ahead.
All right, well, Erica has a better idea than I found a random book and just went with that kind of thing.
Good. I no. I'm honestly considering taking a magic initiate wizard for my feat, so that actually might line up, depending on how she plays that out.
Well, when we level up to level 5, I'm leveling up fighter to 4 so I can get a feat, so I can get magical initiate bard, so that I can get vicious mockery. That'll be very fun when that happens. And I think I'll have like 6 cantrips at that point.
Yeah, sounds right. You can get a lot of cantrips by multi-classing if you want to.
Do Psy warriors get mage hand?
No.
Ah, we could have been the cantrip crew. Quick, Ramune, take the telepathic feat with your next ASI. We'll be the cantrip. Oh, no, telekinetic. I meant. Excuse me. Sorry. I always make so much. Ooh, yummy.
Yeah, Psy Warriors get basically the equivalent to a mage hand, but it's flavored differently. Yeah. Right.
Okay.
All
I
right.
think I went off the to-do list. I was like, I gotta do this one last thing, and then I didn't. Okay. All right. So all good. Long time no see everyone, but glad we're all here. And yeah, I saw y'all had started RP chat. So if we have to go back and do any of that stuff like retroactively, that's fine. I didn't see it yesterday. But we'll go forward with that when we can. Okay, so I wanted to start with the recap real quick. We're going to be picking up the regular schedule weekly, unless people, of course, can't make it. So with the smaller group, it's kind of hard to play with one person out, but we'll play that by ear. So okay, so last time on our session, kind of proud of the name, The Girl with the Killer Tattoo. Really good book, by the way. So Gold Dragon Tattoo is a really good book. Anyway, so okay. So last we met, the party was facing the infamous mother. After all this time, all this build up, all this description, you finally ran into her. It was a woman with a hood. You saw her before, but you really got to see her up close. And as the child described, she definitely was a person who liked to talk and hear her own voice, and also a person who liked to play games. And so Irene did a little bit of, a little bit of stalling and talked to her a bit, but it was kind of clear that she's a little bit off and she wasn't going to really give everything away. So Toren was kind of planning in the background, like what to do. And eventually a Toren decided to attack, and you were able to attack her. She did have some magical powers, but she eventually, in the end, was not quite the match for the party that she probably thought she was, and you all were able to take her down. When you took her down, few things. I believe it was Ramune who got, or no, Toren took something first. I think it was a ring. I wrote this down. A ring. Thinking it was her focus, and then another ring was but she had another ring, and Ramune took her necklace, which was a necklace with the C on it. I might be mixing it up slightly, but we get the general idea. A ring and a necklace was taken from her.
Two rings and a necklace were taken.
Well, I'm going to get to the second ring in a second.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
That.
Yeah, no, that's okay. And the reason why I'm waiting on that is because the second ring, if you remember, had another effect. And so Cypress tried to go into her mind, and he couldn't until he took the second ring, which he noticed had a bit of a glow. Took the second ring, and then he was able to read her mind and detect her thoughts a bit. He delved deeper, and he saw several scenes. He saw her manipulating the scene and doing some things and basically creating Lily. He saw her at the Vindalk camp, and he saw her in a room with some other people or beings with robes with a similarly adorned C on it, the C with the circle. And another thing that you noticed, her necklace that Ramune had also was a C with a circle. And you also realize that the patch that you all found where Lily was found was from her robes. It was apparently ripped off. So little bit, scenes here and there, some things for the group to think about. When you try to question her further, you notice that there was a tattoo on her arm which started to grow when she said certain things. And she eventually ended up committing suicide by saying a certain name. Tremine was the name. The tattoo covered her entire body, burned her up, and she was dead. After that, you all decided to wait a little bit longer for the children to come back. It was the older children who were the scout group looking for merchants. Luckily, they didn't find one, but they did come back. And basically, you all decided that you would bring all the children back to Dr. Simic and, kind of get him to help sort them out. And so you all went back to Dr. Simic, and Dr. Simic kind of had an idea that he wanted to observe them, kind of like what he did with you all. You also told him the entire story of what happened. You were not 100% comfortable with that, but you were like, okay. So you did decide to stay until the children were all evaluated, and then at that point, he would get some people together to bring them to their homes. But most importantly, what you all decided not to do was you decided not to tell anyone what the children have been doing. One last thing I didn't want to throw in there, because this is something that, excuse me, I might have to get water. This is something that you might want to remember, is that the missing caravan, you deduced that that was a caravan that had disappeared as a result of this village. So that's kind of where we are. Did I forget anything? I'm asking because this was like quite a while ago.
Oh, well, I forgot to mention that you did tell us that the Vindogs had reached out to Simic. Phineas was in custody, and they had been sorting out, the compensation for, the stolen goods from the quote-unquote bandits.
Right. Okay, I do remember that. Yeah. So did tell you that, and you also heard that Phineas is in town, in Ardenborn at the moment, locked up because he broke the law. Okay, so that's where we are. And if we want to do anything with Phineas, by the way, we're going to do that in RP chat. If you guys want to talk to him, that'll be RP chat. Okay, so let's start. So I'm going to start with, let me put my ambience on. Okay, as usual, just be aware that if it is too, I'm about to turn on the ambience, so you may want to turn it down. Oh, sure. We are still kind of figuring it out. What do you think, Kat?
I thought we had agreed on next week.
Remember you said that you were going to be thinking of your like based on their schedule. We could actually do it next week. That's fine. I just don't have your character information.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's been a long week. I've literally ended up packing things that I didn't mean to pack in storage, and now I'm like short on clothes because I've just been that stressed.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, we'll definitely do it next week then, because I actually know a really good place to do it. So we'll talk about that. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I thought I was still waiting on your schedule to clear out, but okay. All right. And I hope everybody remembered to level up their characters. And we may have discussed some things about that as well, if some extras, but yeah. All right, so let me put the ambience on. Okay, so you all have been in you've been in Ardenborn for a few days. You've been staying with Simic. Simic has been, kind of observing the children, kind of looking at what they've been doing. One of the things that Simic has not done is that he's very careful not to he doesn't refer to them in any of his notes by their names. He refers to them by code, just in case one day, there is somebody that wants to track down exactly what the children are doing. He doesn't want to identify these minors by their powers or, in a way that someone can find. So he doesn't mention them by name, but he does write things down. You discover that Yara, that's my original name for her. Yara is actually has some powers of about an apprentice wizard, e.g. out of the game, like a level 1 wizard. And she can do a couple of things through, her work with some of the other children. She's able to learn a few more spells, and she talks to them about like learning more. She has a little book that she writes her stuff down in. And of course, Selene stays by her side the whole time. It's about your last day that you want to leave. Now, before we go to that last day, there's a few days here. Is there anything that you all want to do in Ardenborn before you decide to head out?
I'll, I'll go with. I'm not gonna sell the stone carving I get, but I'm gonna sell that. See if I can sell that that ring that I got off of mother, because I honestly don't want that thing.
So you're talking to, so you're talking about the ring that the gold ring.
Yeah, the go. I meant I'll come with Ramune to sell some stuff.
Huh. Okay.
That's what I meant to say. Sorry.
And okay, no problem. And so as long as we have everything, so Cypress has a necklace with the C, and you have the ring that the first ring that you took. Sorry, Ramune has a necklace with the C. Um, Toren has a plain gold ring, and Cypress has the other ring that you kind of that seem to affect her power in some way. So maybe a focus or something like that. So you have the plain gold one. Okay. Does anybody else want to come on this little trip that they're going on? Right. And do you all want to go to like a jeweler? Like what type of store are you looking to go to? Okay.
Same with the gold ring I have.
Okay.
I'd ask Ramune to drop some letters off on his way, but I'm very much focused on the kids right now.
Thanks. Oh my god, thanks.
Okay. Okay, let me get this up. Okay, so you all head to the jeweler shop. There's only one in Ardenborn. And you head in, you see a couple of people kind of working at the desk, and a couple of people working at some of the stands and stuff like that. And you notice that they are all gnomes. And they look at you when you come in, and the kind of older man, he has white hair, like some glasses, and kind of stout, comes up to you. They're not servicing any customers at the moment. This is kind of in the morning, so I'm not using this calendar, by the way. I'm gonna just disable it because it isn't working well for me. So you can ignore that calendar that I have. But yeah, so he comes up to you, and he kind of gives you both a quick once over, and he says, "So, how may I help you?" And he says, "Why, yes, we do. Um, what would you like appraised?"
Same with this gold. Same with this ring.
Okay.
I say they bring out.
Okay. So he looks at the ruby necklace first. He takes the ruby necklace out of your hand, and he just looks at it for a second, not really examining it yet. Then he looks at the ring, um, and he takes them both in his hands, and he says, "Okay, this it'll be 5 gold for me to appraise these."
that's highway robbery. You can do it for one.
And he says, and he starts to hand it back to you. I certainly cannot. And he like gives you back. He thrusts them both back at Toren. He takes.
I was like,
Okay.
take 3 of that back, and I put out 3.
And he takes both of them and he says, you know, for somebody who has such fine items, I'm surprised you're being that stingy. Go ahead and roll persuasion.
Me
Yes.
persuade.
Oh, I forgot to clear my other party stuff out. Okay, so that's a 5. Hold on, I'm gonna delete all this stuff. Something else I forgot. Say it again. Yeah. Okay, let me take all this out. Okay, so persuasion's a 9. I'm gonna delete everything. There we go. Okay. Okay. So he looks at you and he kind of gives you like a little bit of a look. And then he hands you back the items and he says, I think that you be going now. And he looks very offended. He says, okay. And he says, no, I will do it at 5 gold. And he kind of looks at Toren and says, trying to shake my shop down. And then he takes it, says, rich people, blah, blah, blah. And he goes like grumbling to the desk and he takes them both and he pulls out like a little, he takes the gold, he pulls out, and he only takes 5. He pulls out a little like magnifying glass and he like holds up the jewel to the light and I'm sorry, the necklace, and he looking through the ruby and he turns it around and he turns it back to you and he says, you see that little marking right there? And he points to it. And it's a very small, like little symbol on the back. And he looks at it and he says, this is authentic. You all don't really know what you have, do you?
I'm more of a stone appraiser than a jewel appraiser.
He says, of course, of course, of course. And he says, he puts the necklace down for a second, and then he takes the ring and he looks at that and he looks it through and he says, oh, probably can get 5 gold for this. And I mean, this is not like 2 seconds, like it, like it appears here. He has looked at this ring for maybe 5 minutes, kind of examining it, putting it close to the magnifying glass, taking it farther away, um, and just kind of like looking it up and down. And he said, and then he holds it up again and holds it back and says, yes. And then he hands it back to you. And then he takes the necklace back and he motions for you both to come over and he shows you the magnifying glass. And very small, you see a very small, what looks like a S, and then you see a little bit of a symbol. And he says, this is a original piece produced by Sorian's Fine Jewels, the world-renowned jewel shop found in Alloria. And he says, and this is a house sigil. I don't know which one, but this is a house sigil. So probably owned by nobility. How did you get it? And he says, I see. Well, if you sell this in a store, just an average run-of-the-mill jewelry store, you could probably get maybe 100 gold for it. However, if I were you, you may want to find a buyer. And who knows what they will pay. Just my own advice. Don't have to go buy it. I'd be happy to take it off your hands for, and he gives Toren kind of like a dirty look. 100 gold, not a penny more now. And he hands them back to you and he says, so what do you think?
And it's like, well, we are going to Ardenborn, so you might want to be careful who you show that to.
And he says, oh, yes, hold on. And he like takes a little bit of a like a piece of parchment and he like writes down the name of the shop, hands it to you and says, so if you bring in a customer, that's 5% off of appraisals. If you bring a referral in. And then he gives it to you and he looks at Toren again. He says, only 5% now. Hmm? There is a shop name that I don't know what it is right now. So we'll come up with that later. So, yeah. So, okay, cool. All right. Okay, anything else you guys want to do in the shop? Oh, so it's called Surian's Fine Jewels. It is a shop in Elowin. And Irene might know about this place. I'll probably give Irene more information about it out of game. But yeah, I feel like Irene would be the only one who might know more information about this place among the group. Um, yeah, yeah, it is. Here, I'll put it in chat. Sorian's Fine Jewels. This is the spelling. I love the dancing wheel. Right. You're welcome. Okay, cool. All right. So, um, we are okay, anything else in the jewel shop? We're pretty much done there, right? Okay, cool. All right. Anything else for you, Tori?
No.
Okay. Okay. So you all head out. Now is there anywhere else you would like to go in town, or is there anybody else, anything else that anyone would like to do in town before we go to the next day? You did not, right?
I did not.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Speak now or forever hold your peace. We will head to the last day if nobody has anything they want to do. Nothing? Okay, let's go to our last day. Okay. So, you guys get settled in, kind of relaxing around town, staying with Simic, talking to Simic, and about to head out. And on the very last day, that you're there, probably maybe like a couple of hours outside of a couple of hours out of wanting to leave. Simic asks you all if you will come to his office, and he asks, just you guys, not Selene or anybody else. Selene is actually mostly spending most of her time with Yara and the other little girl that is going to be coming with you. And I'm going to say that was Charlotte, but Yara and Charlotte. And so she's kind of spending time with them. And he asks you all to come back to his office because he has some stuff to talk to you about. So we are going to go to that scene. Okay. So Simic brings you into his office, and he he um he just looks at you all and he says, I wanna thank you all for coming and for the kindness and the care that you've shown these children. You all will get far. And then he thinks about it and he says, I have some news, some really good news, some not so good news, and some information that is important for you to have before you head out. Which would you like first?
Bad news?
Yes, let's rip off the band-aid.
Okay. And you notice subtly his fists are clenching and his face is, his breathing is a little bit heavier and he seems a little angry. And this is very unusual because you all have never seen Simic angry before. He's very relaxed and a chill person. And he puts his hand in his head and he looks up and he says, I don't know if you remember me discussing this before. I think I mentioned it in passing, but the Magical Diplomacy Act, um, the act that is being floated in Parliament about forcing all magic users to report their abilities. It hasn't passed. It does not have the support, but there are some politicians that are pushing it, and it is gaining support. It unfortunately now has been expanded not only to magical abilities, but to any gifted abilities. So to warriors that show extra, and he makes in quotes, human abilities, to people who have abilities to create things that are supernatural and otherworldly. And it is now called the Gifted Diplomacy Act. And it is close to passing. We're lobbying Congress, but I'm sorry, we're lobbying Parliament, but it's getting there. If this passes, that will mean that you will be required by law to not only register your gifts, but to register your locations at all times. You'll have to sign in, and people will have to know where you are. And but aside the fact from this being a huge human rights issue, this is also privacy invading, and I don't think I need to say that. Now, you all should actually be pretty okay because you are employed by the government and because you have our support, but I'm very worried about people such as the children and others who don't quite have the resources and the contacts that you all do. My whole point in telling you this is not only be aware of it, but be very careful about who you give too much information about what you can do. Not that I feel as if you will be hurt, but at best discriminated against. And he says, the world we live in, and he kind of rolls his eyes. On to better things, actually much better things. Dr. Wei has gotten better and he seems to be talking. We sent him to a specialist in Harkenstow. And they seem to have figured out, or at least done something. I don't know the details. And he's talking again. I received a letter from Dr. Janair Lynn. She is the contact in Harkenstow. And she is my counterpart. And she is going to have your individual passes for you to intercities, probably in a couple of days or so, maybe. So you don't have to use the group pass. But also see her for more work. I think she has some things. So I would encourage you to visit Dr. Wei. I think he probably has some things to tell you, but also to meet up with Dr. Lynn, if not right away, soon after you arrive in Harkenstow. That was all I had. Did you all have any questions about anything that I've just mentioned? And he says, well, and he's thinking about it long and hard, and he says, these are things that we are thinking of. I think that being a example of upstanding, gifted citizens, as strange as that sounds, is a start, but more directly and more specifically, I'm not a very political guy myself, so I'm not sure, but I think, and he thinks about it, he says, Adia Solarin, she is the ambassador that represents protected tribes like the Vindalkians and the wild tribes of the Wretch. She would definitely be a person to get in contact with to talk about that further. She is doing quite a bit of work to protect the rights of tribes and of people in general. I think that she might have something to say about that.
That would make sense. With the broadening of the persons that this act wants to catalogue, that could very well infringe on the privacy of some of these tribes and their talented individuals.
And he shakes his head in agreement and he says, absolutely. And Adia is a champion for those tribes, even the ones that have not been contacted. She has brought our parliament miles through her influence and leadership into respecting their rights and culture to live as they wish, as long as they are not infringing on the rights of others. And he says, so I recommend talking to her about that. She does have an office in the government building in Harkenstow. Any other questions? And he gets out of his chair and kind of in pieces for a minute. And he says, I hope you all come back to visit soon. I truly have been humbled to work with such kind people such as yourselves. And all the things that you've done for these magical beings and new species that you have run into. And he looks sad, like he has a look of sadness that you're leaving, but understanding that you have to move forward. And he says, if you ever need anything, or if you ever find yourselves into trouble, in any trouble, not that I don't know what type of trouble, but just in case, mention me. I do have some influence. Mention the Allorian Conservation Society. We support you. If that is all, I do need to get back to work. Any other questions for Simic?
No, but just expressing, gratitude for all that you've done and continue to do. We will take careful heed of everything you've said and the advice you've given us, and I hope that our work with the ACA can bring some more fruitful results.
He nods his head, understand it, like kind of knowingly, and he says, okay, and I will see you soon. And that is that. All right, we are in our last, like I said, our final hours in Ardenborn last call. All right, so you guys leave his office. Let's take us back to the scene.
Yeah, I remember Ramune wanting to do a bit of shopping, right?
I think it would be remiss of us to let an opportunity like that go by the wayside. That's definitely something we should look into in Harkenstead.
And what about Celine's family? We could probably try to find that out too. And it's like she's practically adopted one of the kids too. I don't think she'd like having to report her every move to the government either. Yeah, true, but well, we need to get to Harkenstow first before we do any of this.
Right? Okay. Fortunately, Celine has not been expressing her crush that she had as much. Fortunately for Toren. So okay. So cool. So anything else you want to talk about concerning that? So it sounds like you're considering speaking to Esta's family and also speaking to Celine's family or them to talk about gathering support against this bill since they have influence where they stand. Okay, cool. Okay, got it. Makes sense. All right. Anything else, y'all? And we will head out. If not, I lost my ambiance. Go ahead. Yeah, let's RP that. Let's definitely RP that. Just put a yeah. Let's put a note there to RP that. Was there anything let me ask you before I make that decision, was there anything beyond just selling the Smith tools that you wanted to do? Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll RP that. So you're gonna sell the Smith tools in Ardenborn. Got it. Okay. Okay. All right. So it sounds like we're about to head out. Is that cool?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, just a reminder, I'm not trying to push you guys to make any specific decisions. If it sounds like I am, I apologize. I'm just trying to see like, okay, do we want to do anything else? Do we want to do this? Do we want to do that? You guys are less like, you guys aren't really like herding cats like my other group. I really have to be like, okay, what's next? But don't tell them I said that. So anyway, all right, here we go. Yeah. My other group is literally like herding cats. So it's like,
Oh,
it's
God.
like, okay, what are we gonna do? Like every little thing, I'm like, okay, focus. Let's not like, consider every single minuscule detail. Like, let's get back, to what we were doing. So, okay, all right. So, you all get on the path and head out of Ardenborn. Okay, you actually see a couple of people. You see Evie on your way out who pleasantly like waves. She's at one of the shops. Evie, if you don't remember, was the woman who you helped with the bandit issues, and she waves at you and smiles. And all the children, of course, all run up and, some of them hug you, some of them say goodbye. Um, a lot of them you've seen really progress with their powers. Specifically, though, both Yara and Charlotte hop in the wagon and, because they're just going to ride. And the three of them are very small people. So Selene, Yara, and Charlotte are all sitting in the wagon. Now, Selena's in the wagon not because she can't walk and isn't okay with walking. In fact, she often has walked alongside of you, but she kind of wants to sit and like keep an eye on the kids just in case anything goes down on the path, maybe, an animal or two. So she's very protective over them. In the cart playing games, kind of talking, singing, really pleasant ride with each other. The ride to Harkenstow is going to take 3 days. On the road, is there anything that you all would like to do as you go? Okay.
I would like to go hunting for.
Okay.
Let's try to go hunt a bear. Let's see if I can get a bear again.
Okay. All right. Go ahead and roll nature or survival. I forgot if you do nature or survival, whichever one it was.
I think you said either or. I'll go nature since I'm better with that.
Okay, cool. Okay. So one of the days you all kind of make camp, and Toren is like, I'm gonna go get a bear, and as soon as he says that, Yara and Charlotte kind of look at him and says, "A bear? You're gonna bring a bear here? Won't he eat us?"
No, for dinner.
And they're like, "Oh," and Selene starts explaining to them that you're a hunter and that you're going to, and they're like, "Oh, okay." And So Yara asks if she can come, and Selene, no. No.
It's like I look at her and just like, you need to be a little bit older before I do that.
She just kind of sticks her like lip out, like, okay. And Selene, and it's kind of like the irony of being told that she can't go, and now Selene is telling someone else that they can't go somewhere. Kind of an interesting, turn of the tables, considering that she didn't listen. Definitely a do as I say, not as I do moment here. But and Charlotte kind of says, well, we can protect you. And she puts some flame in her hand, and Selene is like, no, no. And she starts talking to them. Okay, bye, Toren. And she's kind of like pulling them, like, no.
It's like I pull out one of my eyes. It's like, don't worry, I have some tricks up my sleeve.
And you hear, as you kind of walk away, you hear them talking like, he can't make fire come out of his hands, but I can. Ha ha ha. He may look strong, but I have this. And you hear them all like kind of chatting, and Selene trying to explain to them that they absolutely cannot go, and she doesn't care what they can do. So you head into the woods, and yeah, you're in a good mood. You're feeling good, rested, had some little bit of food earlier, and you definitely get some bear tracks, and you see a bear off in the distance. You slowly creep up arrow, and you just nail this bear. It drops, it's no problem. I mean, just one shot, bam. And you are just feeling good. I mean, this is an amazing, catch. And it's a black bear, which are common in this part of the area. And so, yeah, you grab the black bear and you bring him back to the camp.
All right, guys, I brought back dinner.
And you notice that Selene and the little girls are just kind of looking at you, kind of and Yara and Charlotte, they're not too sure if they want to try any of it, you think, but they're being good sports. All right, so you just want to cook the bear, eat it for dinner with the
Well,
rest of the group.
yeah, it's like I want to skin the thing first, though.
Okay. Yeah, so you're able to skin the bear. I mean, I'm going to say I'm not going to make a roll for that because the good nature roll, and considering the fact that you're in a great mood, no issue whatsoever. And is there anything that you all would like to talk about kind of around the fire? Of course, the little girls are fascinated, and they're watching you, kind of work on the bear. A little bit, little grossed out, but they're interested, and they're kind of looking at you doing it. You learn that neither Yara or Charlotte lived outside of a city area. Until recently, that is, with the mother village. So they're definitely not too familiar with hunting and with like skinning and stuff like that. Um, any discussions that you all would like to have around the fire? Any discussions at night? Anything else that anybody would like to do?
I'd probably try to impress on the girls as we get to town. Not dive too deep into, the magical prejudice, but just, keeping things discreet and, not showing off our powers, like, just because. But I'd also offer to, and this is to anyone in the party, chat or, help workshop or practice any powers they are unsure about. Yeah.
So Yara seems to understand a little bit better than Charlotte. Charlotte kind of does the why game, and Selene kind of tries to kind of sidestep the question in the nicest, most, possible way. That, I mean, Selene doesn't know the details that you all know seemingly, but she kind of says that, there are people out there who will try to take advantage of you like Mother did. And you need to be really careful about people like this. And that seems to work a bit, bringing up the example of Mother. And so she kind of like seems to understand, but maybe a little bit. She's a little disappointed. So yeah, but you and Celine have been successful with explaining that to them.
All right, cool. And yeah, it wouldn't be a complete prohibition. Like making sure they have the opportunity to test things out and try things with us. When we make sure there's no one around, like now, for example. The little things. But yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So they kind of they get what you're saying. Celine mentions that she might have some resources for them to learn safely. But she has to look into that. But she's not sure. Um, okay. Anything else you all want to talk about around the fire, or do you want to rest and get going? Okay. So let me do a quick roll. Okay. So you all continue. The night is uneventful. Um, you continue up the path and headed towards town as you get closer. And now, like has been mentioned, and like a lot of you know, Ardenborn is a small fishing town, but Harkenstow is a medium-sized city, and it is the second biggest city in the town. I'm sorry, on the continent of Esau. So as you head in, you notice that the trees are breaking up a little bit more. It's looking a little bit more clear. And the kids are asleep in the back of the wagon, and Yara seems to be dozing off a little bit too. It's been a long journey for them, and they seem to have gotten used to the kind of the bumpiness of the wagon, and so they've all kind of drifted off. As you get closer to the city, you see your first guard post. And these are just some regular guards that are kind of like, standing kind of a little bit further outside of the city area. And I'm gonna take you to this scene. Actually we're not quite there. We're not quite there yet. Okay. So you head to your guard post, and the guard stops you, not in a rude way, but just kind of like, he's like, hello, and he says, may I see your traveling ID?
Oh no, go ahead, Ramune.
Right.
Hold on a minute. Do I have something?
No,
I do not,
we
unfortunately.
do have an ID from Simic. It's a
Yeah,
group
you
ID,
have
right?
the
Yeah.
group ID.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
the group.
So
I mean, we have the idea, but I do kind of want to challenge his authority. I don't know. No.
Just let's present the papers.
I turn into a bear and maul the guard, and then I give them fuel. I give them fuel for the legislation. They're like, they can point to the.
yeah, the sentiment of being good, upstanding citizens.
Oh yeah, and I just stay in the bear form until we're out of sight. No, that's not bad. Oh my god, we could con people so bad, like staging a bear attack on a village, and you guys stop it.
Someone write this down.
Oh no, no.
Someone write this down for real.
Jono, I think we need to have an intervention here.
No,
Phineas
I
infected us.
I kind of fuck with this, to be honest. I like it. I like where this is going. Intervention.
Okay, let's
All
find
right,
out
wait.
the idea
We
for
present him
later.
the idea. The idea.
So
Okay,
yes,
Pip,
I'll
something
hand
else.
the guard the group pass.
Okay. Okay, so for now we're going with favors. Okay. So he looks at it and he says, "Ah, work for the government, do you?" And he hands it back and he says, "All right. Um, you will have to do a quick they will have to do a quick inventory of your cart, but before you go in the gates, but you may pass." And he waves you through. And so you continue through, and a couple of other guards who it seems that have seen him wave you let you go until you get up to like where the path narrows and you're close to the gate. And I'm going to go ahead and now this is unfortunately I couldn't find the cart tool that I was using, so let's imagine that this scene, Charlotte and Celine and Yara are in the cart. Okay, they're not walking, and this is what you've come to. The road leading upwards, it's a narrow path, and right in front of you, like off of scene, is the castle, or is the not the castle, but there's no castle in this town, but is the city gates. And so as you walk up, and this is clearly the final, probably the final checkpoint, because these are the last two guards, and then there's this one other guard, and the gates are directly in front of the last guard. The two guards approach you, and they come up and they say, "Business in Harkenstow, please."
Oh, good day, good day. Well, we have quite a few matters to attend to, but most of them are work related. I'll show them the pass. We're affiliated with the ACA, and our wards here are being transported for some assistance in a family intervention.
His head, and he says, "Alloria Conservation Alliance." The second person who's repeated this, probably a good thing that this is a known organization that seemingly has some respect. And he looks at the paper and he looks back at you and he says, "Okay." And he says, "Please step aside. We're going to have to search the contents of the cart." And they both step over. And this third guy comes down too. And they both step over and they start looking in the cart. As they're looking through the cart, Esta wakes up and her head immediately pops up. And they look at each other and they say, "Huh." And you kind of see this guy go back and say something to this guy. And he says, "Hold here for a minute." He leaves and he comes back with a couple of others. And they all kind of look at each other and they're kind of seemingly don't know what to do, and they kind of say, "We're going to need you to wait for just a few minutes."
Uh-huh. And what exactly will I be telling Dr. Lin was the holdup?
They kind of look at each other and say, "Dr. Lin of the Alloria Conservation Alliance is the one that just spoke to you," repeats. Is that who you're referring to?
Oh, sorry, I might have misheard. You said Dr. Lin is here?
No, he says, he asks you. So you said, what did you say? You said Dr. Lin, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So he asks you, he's asking you a question. He says, Dr. Lin of the Allorian Conservation Alliance, and he phrases it as a question.
Yes, that's why we're here. She's expecting us, and I hope we can have a good reason for why we're late.
And he kind of looks at the others and he says, hold on. And again, they go back and they start talking. And
I'd like to see your manager.
yeah, and they seem they seem like a little bit like, to put it mildly, they seem like a little bit unsure of what to do. And they're kind of like, they all come over in a group and they all start like, they're all like talking to each other. You can't quite hear what they're saying, but they're going on. And like a few minutes or so pass, and none of them have come up to you yet, but there are quite a few of them kind of like, out here. Eventually, somebody comes, and this is the person, and he walks up and he says something to these guards, and then he comes up to you all and he says, Selene Terrell. And she looks and says, yes. And what is the meaning of you holding us up? And he kind of looks and he says, you've been missing for a few days now. And we've been ordered to take you to your parents. And you were reported by a group to have been taken against your will. And she's like, no, clearly I'm with them. What is going on? Very angry. And he says, and who are those children? And she says, don't worry about that. That's not your business. And she gets out of the cart and she stands in front of Toren, kind of like, and I mean, she's not a tall girl, but she's like pushing her weight up and putting a path between you and this guy, and is saying, let them through. I went with them willingly. And he says, your parents have said that you were probably coerced. And even if you did go with them willingly, and he makes like quotes, he says, they coerced you. You met them one day and they talked you into going with them. That is what your servants apparently have reported. And she's like, no, that is not what happened. You better let us through, or you will hear from. And he says, no, your father told us that the minute that we find you with this group that you were taken with, that we take you in and arrest them. And she was like, no. And she said, no. And she's like really mad. And she says, you don't even know. And the other guards like walk over and they're like, it would be best if you come with us. And Selene's like, no. And you hear her like screaming at them.
So I'm putting, if she gets to screaming, I'm putting a hand on her shoulder at that point.
Okay. She
It's
does.
like
Go ahead.
it's like I was just like, well, we didn't kidnap her. It's like, what the fuck is going on here? It's like Toren is just very confused.
And
So, sir, how about we start on a better foot? Perhaps an introduction before you attempt to arrest the government officers.
And he looks at you and he says, you're going to have to come to my office with me before you go anywhere. And Selene kind of seems to have calmed down a little bit with the shoulder on. And she says, and she points at Selene, you come with us. Your parents are going to want to see you. And she's like, nope, not going with you. You are not taking them. You have to take all of us. And he just kind of looks at her and he says, we don't want to take you by force and embarrass you. Just come with us now. And
So again,
go ahead.
So again, sir, without a name, is this a conversation in your office, or are you planning to formally detain us? On the word of citizens.
And he says, I'm not acting on the word of citizens. I'm acting on the word of the Solaren family of Harkenstow. I was ordered strictly to take these actions when Selene was found. We've been looking for her, and he says it in a kind of an annoyed tone, for days. She was reported missing days ago. And Selene says, okay, fine. I'll go with you, but she says, let me talk to Irene for a second. And he says, 1 minute. She kind of pulls the group aside for, she pulls the group over here. And she says, you guys, I'm really sorry about this. Don't worry. I will get it figured out. Just go with him and we'll get it all sorted out. Don't worry. I promise we'll get it sorted out. Okay? Please don't cause a ruckus because this could be worse. The guards in the city are not exactly nice. So just go and we'll get it sorted out, okay? Sorry I ever came with you. This is all my fault. Okay. And she says, don't cause any trouble, okay? Just go with them.
Okay. We'll try to keep a low profile. We do have matters to attend to. You'll be able to find us at the ACA if we don't find you before that. Do you have any token or trinket you could give us so we could attest to, knowing you, in case we need to prove a point?
She goes and looks back at the cart and says, oh, I left my suitcase when Yara went missing. Because remember, she just left her bag and didn't even pick it up. And she says, and she looks at her hands and she just willingly pulls off a bracelet and says, here. And she shows you her family sigil and she gives it to you. And she says, and it's it's like a gold bracelet and it has a similarly to what Toren and Ramune saw. It has the little sigil on the inside. And she goes back up to the guard and she says, okay, don't worry, this will be sorted out soon. And she says, all right, but the children come with me. And he says, fine. And Yara and Charlotte kind of march up looking terrified. But Selene, one of the guards tried to put his arm pulling her, she pulls it away and just literally punches him kind of not hard but hits him in the chest. And it's do not touch me. And then she says, come on, it'll be okay. And she takes them and they head in. So they head in. So we're gonna take them off. They do not ignore the tokens that I used.
So we get the impression these are a private guard then?
Oh, you're talking about the guard. No. Wait, what previous guards you saw? Let's be more clear. What previous guards? Oh yeah. Sorry, I thought you were talking about the guards at the last city. Yeah, these are they match the guards at the other checkpoints. Yes, except for the guy who seems to be in charge of everything. He has on a similar outfit, but it's it's a little bit different.
So, would I or anyone know, like, I guess an idea of the power dynamics if like the guard is taking orders from a family as opposed to the government?
So you do know, Irene, some information, but it's not quite you're not quite sure what's going on with her here officially, quote unquote. There is not a power structure that includes noble families. However, they have a lot of influence due to the fact that they own a lot of land, they have a lot of money, just like any rich family would, even in the real world out of game. But
Yeah.
what they're doing is definitely overstepping bounds you would deduce. I mean, it's like these people told the guards to stop you based on what? That doesn't mean though that they're going to be able to get away with it, but so yeah. So it's definitely not official, but you've heard of stuff like this happening. It happens a lot.
Or
Well, they don't think that you're kidnappers. But I think that you should ask more information about exactly what the deal is, if you want to know more about why. But they don't think you're kidnappers. That's not exactly what they're thinking. So
yeah, coercion-ish.
right, exactly. Um, okay, so do you all go in with them? Do you say anything else as you're going in?
Oh, just so I can clarify, um, I kind of think I would really want um. Oh, is okay. So that leader dude is still with us, right?
Mm-hmm. He's with you.
Okay, cool. All right. Okay, well, yeah. I guess we'll go ahead if no one is objecting.
Okay.
Externally.
So as you head in, and we will go to the Hardhi still. Make sure I'm on the right one. This is my ambiance. All right. So you all start to head into the town, or into Harkenstow, and it's an interesting scene. It's the four of you being flanked by all these guards, and people are noticing. Several people kind of yell out at the guards, like, what are you taking them for? And people are kind of definitely don't seem to be too on the best terms with what's going on here, even though they don't really have any idea. Um, as you walk through the town, you notice some interesting landmarks. It's quite more urban than Ardenborn. The streets are pretty dirty. There are a lot of stone shops. You walk by the large and world-renowned theater, that is home to the Harlequin Theater Troupe. And you notice a small line of people kind of waiting, maybe to buy tickets or maybe waiting to go in for a show outside of the theater. You also notice, as you walk past the theater, some construction going on. This is something that you specifically, Irene, and anybody else who's been in Harkenstow has not seen before. And so whatever is being made is pretty big. And weirdly, the people who are creating whatever this structure is don't appear to be official construction type of workers. Normally you would see like dwarves or gnomes in, the clothing, but these seem to be just random people, you know, men, women, different races, different ages, just kind of all kind of working collectively together, building some huge structure. The commotion continues. People are looking at you curiously. People are shouting at the guards. That is happening a lot. People don't seem happy, again, like I said, about the situation. And eventually they bring you to a large stone building and they escort you in. And this is where we are going to end up.
I guess as the party's walking, I'll just whisper, basically to the effect of, don't give them any information they don't need. We're in the right. We just need to be patient and stand firm. And I'll end on the note of snitches get stitches.
Snitches get stitches. I
Just,
love it.
just hang it out there.
Okay. Sure. Ambiance. Right? Okay. All right. So as you're led in, you seem to be you're led past some cells, past the main office first. You walk by some cells, and then you end up in a large, looks like a cafeteria area. So at least it's not a cell. And the supervisor, whomever he was, comes in and says, I'll be right back. And he disappears for a second and comes back and sits down. And he says, so a couple of questions. Why was Miss Celerin with you?
When we came across Celine in Ardenborn, her current guard had just walked out on her. Some dwarven fellow, very unprofessional. So she requested our assistance in ensuring her safe passage back to Arkansas, building rapport and waiting for us to deal with several government matters that we've been dealing with for the ACA. We didn't take a direct route, which is, why we've ended up coming at, a later date than she might have expected.
Report that she was persuaded to come with you against her will.
Well, I'm terribly afraid to let you know that the report was incorrect. If anything, she's persuaded us to accompany her.
I believe that she didn't have the capacity to agree with that. And that if you were really a professional group that would escort people, you would have seen that. And then he kind of says this in kind of like a self-important tone. And then he says, and if you were escorting her, why didn't she have any bags? We searched her cart. There was no sign of luggage.
We had some business to take care of, and she snuck out of her mansion and snuck into our cart.
He kind of considers that and says, and you should have turned her away then.
In the middle of the forest?
And he
Surrounded
says,
by giant crocodiles.
he considers the point for a second, and he says, hold on. He says, I'll be right back. He leaves for about 20 minutes. The guards who are kind of guarding off the exits, they just watch you. They're not getting involved. After about 30 minutes or so, you hear a ruckus outside. You hear people talking in raised tones and excited tones. And the voices are getting closer. These guards step aside, and a few people burst into the room. This person, and the same guy. This person steps forward and looks you over and says, yes, that's them. And she says this very angrily, and then she looks back at you all. I would like everybody to please, who is proficient in perception, to roll perception. Irene, with all of the raised voices and the confusion and the stress of what's happened to you, completely unjustly being taken and detained for the second time this has happened to you in a matter of months. Excuse me. You just can't focus. And you're just kind of like trying to you have a little bit of a headache too, and you're just trying to kind of center yourself and think. Cypress, you look at the woman and you look at her face and she looks familiar, but you can't quite put your finger on it.
Can I make another check to try and remember?
Said you, oh, there we go. Okay. Um, you said you're gonna do another check, right?
I asked if I could do another check to find out more, and then I couldn't hear anything for a minute. So I
Oh,
don't know
sorry,
if
I
I
must have
messed
cut
up
out at the
or...
moment because I said yes.
Okay. All right. So
That's
would
okay.
that be insight or history or?
Go, you know what? Go ahead and do history this time. Okay.
I guess not.
You think, you just scan your brain. You think, but you don't. You just cannot remember who this person is. So Ramune, you also are looking at the face, and you actually start to recognize the voice, and you remember who this person is. Now, unfortunately and sadly, I don't know how to. Unfortunately, I don't know how to make tokens bigger in a way that is easy for Boundary. So just bear with me for just a second here. I have to do this kind of a longer way. Okay. So let me go here. Oh, some things I was supposed to ask them and I forgot. Okay. So try that. Okay. So this is what the person looks like. And Ramune, you remember this person looking like this. Second. Go to token. Okay. Update. There we go. Like this. It is Esta Francis. And she says, yes, it's me. And she says, I'm surprised you recognize me. And she kind of like brushes her head. She appears to have shaven off like all of her hair. She had braids before. And she is wearing a much more less ostentatious outfit, although that might just be normal, but she's definitely wearing something much less ostentatious than the last time we saw her. And she has some jewelry like on her forehead, and she kind of looks and she says, what is the meaning of this? You need to let them go immediately if you want to keep your job. She says this directly to Toren. And I didn't tell you his name yet. So she refers to the head guard as Toren, and she says, my father, Baron Soshu of Baron's territory, she says very, very clearly, will not be happy that you are just detaining innocent citizens who've done nothing wrong. And this person comes up and she says, and I concur. And she looks at the party and she says, Dr. Lynn, these are our employees. They have done nothing wrong. Release them at once. And Toren kind of looks and he says, well, I haven't. And Esta cuts him off and she says, have you booked them yet? Have you processed them yet? And he's like, well, that was the next step. And she's like, great. So nobody even knows that they're here. You can just let them go. They haven't even been booked. There's no record of this. And we can forget this little thing ever happened, can't we? And he kind of looked and he says, that would be breaking proto. And she says, you know what would be worse than breaking protocol would be if you didn't have a job tomorrow, because my father, if I tell him that a officer of the government is acting illegally, even if on the word of another family, he will have your job. And he kind of looks at her and says, okay. Okay. But you're going to have to explain this to the Solarian family. And she says, already got that covered. They are very dear friends of mine. What else? And she looks at him and he says, and they better not cause any trouble. And she says, again, she cuts him off. They won't. What else? You may go. And he kind of puts his hand up and like lets it go. And she says, great. Glad we can resolve this in a way that works for everyone. And she kind of looks at the other guards and says, in it like a exaggerated, sickly sweet voice, have a nice day, everybody. They open the door and they let you out. As soon as you get right outside of the door, both Esta and Dr. Lynn look at you all. And Esta says, I normally don't throw my dad's name out there like that, but I had to. And she says, why don't you all come to my house and we'll lay low for a bit until this all blows over.
Erica, there's a black screen covering the board.
That's
Like,
weird.
We can't see anything.
Oh, the one that I just pulled you to? Oh, that's easy. That's easily fixable. Cool. Let me. No. There we go. Can you see Harkenstone now? Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Okay, yeah, and this is what I had up earlier. I have to go through all these to make sure I have the vision set up right. Okay, cool. All right, sorry about that. Yeah, earlier when you all were running through town and you saw the blackboard, it actually kind of worked at that point, I think. But earlier, this is just what was up. So the city background. Okay. All right. So they pull you, like I said, SSSU. Why don't you all come to my house and let's wait a bit before while all this blows over. And Dr. Lin looks at you and says, "Yes, and when you can, please report to the Alloria Conservation Alliance office after you've settled in. I understand this was a stressful event, and I wouldn't fault you if you relaxed for a day or two. But please come and see me when you can." And she kind of bows and she heads off and she says, "Oh, and I'm sorry about this." Esta is fuming. Her fists are clenched, and you're walking through the city. She takes you away that is very, very like it appears that she takes you in a way where that is like kind of a shortcut, kind of through some not through the main side of the street, kind of through some back alleyways. She just wants to get you to her house as quickly as possible. As you get closer, she brings you to a gated area of the city, and there's a guard there. He just nods at her, and he immediately opens the gate, doesn't even ask any questions, barely looks at you guys. Apparently, word hasn't gotten out all around the city, and they go through. You guys just are able to go through with her, and at this point, you notice there are just opulent mansions everywhere in this gated part of the city. And she takes you to one of the larger mansions, and she like again there's a person at the door. She just nods at them, takes you to the takes you up the stairs and to what looks like to be her room. And this is where you end up. After a minute or so, she just looks at you all and says, "Okay." She says, "Oh, I can't believe that." And she says, "I know a little bit of information, but what happened?"
We got accused of kidnapping Selene.
And she
Or
says,
coercing her at the very least.
coercing. And she says, I'm echoing for some reason. Maybe somebody's maybe it's to meet themselves. And she says, "Selene came to me crying and said that I had to help get you out of the guardhouse. She burst into my house like, and so I just got a 5-minute story. I know you all wouldn't coerce her." And she says, "Why would they think such a thing?"
Because her servants in Ardenborn reported her missing after she snuck out of the house and snuck into her cart after we told her we had some business to take care of before we could escort her to Harkenstow.
She just looks and she kind of laughs and she says, "Oh, yeah, that sounds like something Selene would do. Keep in mind, we've known each other since we were about 5, 6 years old. We went to the same schools. She's a stubborn one." And she says, "Undoubtedly, she is feeling so much guilt right now. But she shrugs and she says, at the end of the day, the family will understand that it was her, not you, and they will appreciate the fact that you got her here safely. Welcome to Harkenstow. And she says that kind of like a little bit tentatively. And she says, I would love to show you around, but I have some things I need to do. And she kind of thinks and she says, I would lay low if I were you. Maybe go to the office when you wish to. But have you thought about where you're staying? I mean, before you got to town, that is. I know you haven't had time to think about anything once you got here. And she says, okay, go ahead.
It's like I thought we were gonna stay at the office, but I don't really know what's gonna go on now.
She says, okay, guess you're staying with me then. We have a lot of guest bedrooms.
Well, thank you for the hospitality.
Of course. And she says, some of the inns here are a little weird. So yeah. She says, if you need something, just ask any one of the staff and they'll bring you breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They will be under my orders to do whatever you all need. And she sits in the chair again and she says, and I also really wanted to thank you all for helping me. When you did, you helped me without expecting anything, and you could have just kept going. And you also helped me learn things about myself that I didn't know. Would you all go ahead? Oh, go ahead. She picks up the necklace and says, and you didn't sell my necklace. And she seems in disbelief, but in wonder. And she says, you all are really a good group of people. Anybody would have sold this the first chance they got. Thank you. And she just walks over and like puts it in a jewelry box and she says, well, the least I can do is make your stay here as long as you're here. And I hope you stay in Harkenstow despite that terrible beginning. I promise you the city isn't always like this, but for a little bit of time at least. And she says, well, I do have to leave, but I did want to ask you all. I have something important I want to talk to you about later tonight. Will you meet me back here at, say, around 8 o'clock? And it's about noon right now.
Well, I mean, we're kind of bogarting some of your rooms right now. That's probably the least we can do.
She says, okay. And she says, I have some things I need to tell you. And after this especially, and she points at her jewelry box again and she says, I know I can trust you guys. And she's about to go. Anything else that anybody would like to say to her?
Oh no, I think we'll have plenty of chances to catch up and fully fill her in.
Okay. Okay.
It's like she didn't even notice that there were only 4 of us and not 5.
let's say she asked that question as you guys are walking over and you explained it. We won't go too much into that. She wasn't the biggest fan of Phineas anyway. So
Oh, we all just sit here like shit talking Phineas with her for like 20
right,
minutes.
or
Yeah.
like a good 5 minutes, yeah, or a good, but I should say a good hour. Right. It's like, oh my gosh, he was so annoying. Um, do you guys know he tried to shake me down for like all this money before, but to escort you? Or wait, no, that wasn't her. That was Esta, or that was Celine. Never mind. You guys know that Celine told me that he tried to shake her down for all this money.
I know. I was there when he tried to do it.
Yeah, and you stopped him.
Yeah, I almost punched him in the face at that one. It's like, okay, you idiot, don't ruin this. We're trying to not piss off the nobles.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. That does sound like Phineas.
It's like, well, it's better that he's parted ways from you all. Um, okay, so she is going to head out. And yeah, you all, so basically you all are free to do what you want. Now, keep in mind that, it has been suggested that you lay low. Um, so if you want to go to let's role play like mundane shop things. If there's anything more significant rather than just general shopping, we can do that. This is a much larger city, there's much more available. Additionally, there are the things that you saw, the church, the theater, the not the church, I'm thinking of something else. The building being built, the theater, and you can always go to Dr. Lynn. So, or you can just wait until 8 o'clock and hang out at her house, whatever you want to do.
Also, you don't need like an exact answer or measurement now, but how far away is this from where I would live?
So this is like this is on the side of, this is in a gated area on the side of town. Now, you currently, I believe, are living though in Elwyn, but you're saying where you're originally from in Harkenstow, right?
Uh, yeah, let me make sure I have my notes
I
in
thought that
order.
we said that you were living in Elwyn. If not, that's okay. We can say you're here. But so, or at least at the moment, I thought that you were currently in Elwyn, but you're originally from Harkenstow. Um, but the other, so not the far side of town, but you would live in an area that's like where a lot of the shops were, the shops are. There's a lot of apartments above shops, like in real life, but like single apartments. And so it would be like maybe a 10-minute, walk depending on how quickly you walked. But yeah, probably about 10 minutes out leaving the gates. Oh, one of the things that Esta did, I forgot to mention this. One of the things that Esta does do is that she gives you a pass, and it has her, like, it has her family's name. It's like a visitor's pass. It has her family's name on it, it has her name on it, so that if you need to get back into the gated area, you can get back in without an issue yourself. So she does give you that, but she gives you one. So just keep that in mind.
No.
Okay, so did you want to head did you want to go to where your house is, or did you want to do something else?
I would like to go see if I can try and sell that statue I got back in Ardenborn that I've
Okay.
been.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and we will do, trying to think if we want to do that. Yeah, we will do both those. Okay. Anything else? Okay. And then what were you guys kind of thinking that you wanted to do after like the town, like the selling stuff? Okay. Mhm. You're a poor, helpless, eating diseased rats. Um, so yeah, there's soup kitchens in the city, by the way, you guys. Who would have ever thought? Um, okay. So, Irene and Cypress, anything for the two of you?
I'll go shopping with Ramune. There was something I wanted to get.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll tag along.
Okay, so everybody's going shopping. After that, the theater. Did you want to go to the Alluring Conservation Alliance today? Squeeze that in, or did you want to go? I mean, she said you can come. She's kind of like casual, like, kind of this was a stressful day. If you don't want to come right away, that's fine. So you can go today or you can go, the next day. You really have nothing that you have to do right now, is what I'm saying. So, did you want to do that or did you want to just do those two things for now?
I would want to go just to like touch base and show face and maybe like just get ready for tomorrow and the work we're gonna do, but not like, start doing it.
Okay. So it sounds like that makes sense. So it sounds like what you mean with the Alluring Conservation Alliance, just to go and touch base real quick.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Ramune would want to come with us for that, or maybe we could do that while or.
Okay, yeah. Do you want to do that then? So then we can have some of the group. Okay, that makes sense. We can have the Ramune and Toren go shopping and simultaneously the other two go to the office, and then we can have everybody meet up at the theater, and then we'll do meet Esta. How's that sound? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. All right, let me turn off this ambiance I have on, which is not matching the scene right now. Oh, is there a hold on, let me look.
Oh yeah, you'll get it in a second.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait, did I pull I was so focused, like, did I pull out a map with a cat on it and not even notice that? That would be really funny if I did. She's like, it's a Mancoon, very expensive. No. Yeah. No, she actually does not have any pets in the house, interestingly enough. So maybe they
Explains
leave
why
them
she
on.
knows so little about responsibility.
Exactly. Yep. And I did want to add real quick before you all leave that she introduces you to her staff. She has personal staff. Her parents aren't there. She doesn't even mention them. So apparently this is fine. And I mean, she's an adult though. She's the elven age of equivalent of 20s probably. And so she kind of comes and goes as she wishes. But she introduces you to some staff, and these staff are tasked with getting you whatever you need, pretty much, whatever that means. Okay. All right, so let's head to the shops first. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull us back to the scene here. All right, Ramune and Toren, you walk through town. Again, just a urban area, lots of shops. Unlike Ardenborn, there are several stoneworking shops, some in the nicer part of town, some were mom and pop, that are kind of smaller. There are quite a few general stores, all kinds of things. Can you describe to me like what there's more than one option. So let's talk about what specifically, what type of shop are you looking for?
Uh, and I would like to do the same for my statue, please.
Oh, you can't hear me?
Now we can.
Yeah, now we
That's
can.
weird. I did nothing. Okay. All right. If my computer, by the way, goes off the rails, like if that happened last time, that could happen. Um, okay, yeah, go ahead and roll. Roll for that, please.
What do we roll?
Let's see. Yeah, intelligence. Let's do intelligence.
Uh, ow. I got a freaking 21, but then show it in my roll. Then show it in the. Okay, let me do something real quick. Okay.
So you do some looking around, and you both kind of are looking to see, okay, like what are some places where specifically people seem to like know what they're talking about. And what's meant by that is, a chain store versus a store where people know, you know, um, about the items. They know about the they know what they're selling. We're talking out of game. A Home Depot where nobody knows anything. Well, my brother actually works at Home Depot. Um, a Home Depot, where they don't really know much versus like a mom and pop, hardware store where they really can give you some good advice, right? And so that's what you're looking for because you feel as if those people will see more value and will likely pay more for these items. And you do find some places that do appear to be, you know, a little bit more knowledgeable in the context of the items that they're selling. We're going to first head to a blacksmith shop. And this is what you find for the smithing tools. And as you go in, it's not what it's kind of like it's one of the smaller blacksmith shops that you see in one of the middle class areas in town. And there are some dwarfs, because dwarfs work at blacksmith shops always, working. And you see a smithy, his hands are kind of covered in a little bit of soot, his arms, and hammers, tongs, and chisels adorn the wall, axes and spears, some mundane metal. Um, he walks up to you and says, and he immediately addresses Toren, like, with a nod and a kind of a hello brother type of look. And then he very politely as well addresses Ramune and says, um, looking for a weapon today? He says, oh, go ahead. He says, well, thank you. And he says, I started this shop myself with my father when we immigrated from Verdirth about, oh man, how time flies. 20 years ago now. I do miss Verdurth. I I miss my kinfolk, but that's okay. On to life here. We could also always use a set of smithy tools. Can I see what you have? And he looks at them and kind of examines them, and he says, and he takes one and he kind of like wraps it on like the counter there, and he says, "Wow, these are old, but they're in good quality. They're good quality." And he looks at them and he says, "People don't use tools like this much anymore." And he says, "I actually would not use these for smithing. I would display them in my shop." And then he gives you a bit of a story about the history of these tools. So remember, these are tools that you found in the village. So, you know, right? Okay, just making sure I'm not screwing that up. So these are tools that you found in the village. And remember, the village appeared to be abandoned. And so these are older, he says, but in good quality. And he says, um, these will be wonderful display pieces for the shop. And he tells you the history. And he doesn't take too long, but he goes in for about 5 minutes of, how this brand of tools, they're one technology behind of being quite as functional, but kind of where they came from. And they're actually tools that are used by gnomes north of here. And they have there's a town called Brennan, and it's hot. It's far north, and it gives you a little bit of story about how these gnomes are excellent at smithing, but also they're mostly miners, and it's an interesting story. And he thanks you very much, and he says, "Oh, sorry, I just got so excited to see something like this." And he says, "I'll give you 25 gold for these. These are actually quite valuable to me."
Uh, yeah, if you sold them to another blacksmith, that idiot probably melted them down or something.
With that, like, with hearing that from Toren, he just cringes a bit like the thought, and he says, "Indeed, I'm glad you came to me first too. Oh, imagine if someone didn't know what these were. These are history that must be preserved." And he hands you over the gold, and he says, "Thank you very much. Is there anything else that you would like to look at in my humble store here?" He says, "I do, however. Um, I think that you might want to look at one of the leatherworking shops in town. I feel as if they they would have better quality specifics that they have here. Of course, I could sell you some. I wouldn't mind." And he kind of laughs to himself and he says, "But I feel that I should be 100% honest with you and lead you towards where you would find the best quality of leatherwork specifically. Um, but if you want chainmail, or if you want anything like that, I'm more than happy. Plate, I'm more than happy to. We have the best quality in town. But if you want specialized leather work, then you're better going to a leather shop." And he gives you a couple of suggestions and says, "So, you know, feel free to browse our leather works." And he kind of points you in the direction of the shop where they are, but um, you know, keep that in mind as well. He says, "No, thank you. I just, it's the least I could do with you bringing these fine tools to me." And he just seems like super excited, like a kid in a candy store that just got like new toys with these tools, you know. You definitely notice that with the closer look at them that they are, and you may have even noticed this before, Toren, you probably did, but you just didn't like bother saying anything. But yeah, I mean, you definitely notice that, these tools are probably a little bit, they're definitely a little bit different than the others that you see his employees using. Um, so anything else? Did you want to look at his leather works, or did you want to go somewhere else for that? Okay. Hello.
Yeah. And speaking of that, well, I want to go speak to the head of the forge about 3 things, actually.
Okay. Okay. So he definitely has, if you're browsing the area, I mean, he definitely has the studded leather, he has the scale mail. It's okay. I mean, it's decent quality, decent to good quality. And so he definitely has everything that you're looking for. Um, so yeah, why don't you go ahead and go up to the head of the forge. You do see somebody working on the forge at the moment.
Oh yeah. I would like to ask you something. I pull out the stone carving I got back in Ardenborn.
Mhm.
I received this as payment for a job. Do you happen to know the best place to sell this at?
His eyes go wide and he says, "Oh," he says, "You mind if I take a look at that?"
Yeah, here. This is a piece from the Sisters of the Stone Guild.
And he takes the statue and he is like amazed and he looks at it and he says, I do know where you can where you might be able to sell this. Um and he gives you the name of a stone carver. Or he says they're a stone carver. And again, he mentions that he actually mentions that this stone carver um is the best in town and has roots coming from a town called Jasperville. And so he gives it back to you, and he says he says that he mentions the name of it, although this is made by Sisters of the Stone. He does mention that this specific piece or this specific store is run by elves. Um, and gives you a little bit short of a rundown. This guy clearly is like some type, he's probably like a history buff, and he's someone who likes giving this type of information. And he gives you a little bit of a rundown of like, you know, this store, and kind of like a 2-minute history of how the elves became such good stone carvers, and they specifically live in this town. Um, and he hands it back to you.
And I then pull out my set of smith tools, and it's like, yeah, also want to sell these. I'm never gonna make use of them, but I know you will.
Um, he looks at them and he says, "Okay, they're pretty worn. 15 gold."
Yeah, that's fine. They were my dad's tools. He gave them to me, hoping I'd open up a smith's shop, but I'm a huntsman at heart, so.
He says, "Ah, not so much into the smithing, huh?" And he hands you the gold and takes the tools.
And how much for a set of plate armor?
Set of plate armor. Let's see. How much is that going to right? He says, well, and he says, my plate armor generally goes for 800 gold. Is that half plate or full plate? Sorry, I meant to ask that first. Is that half plate or full plate?
Full plate.
Okay. My full plate armor generally goes for, and he thinks to himself and he says, about 1,600 gold.
I'll be honest, that's cheaper than I thought it would be.
Shakes his head and he says, and that doesn't mean the quality isn't as good.
Oh, I know that. It's just usually I see that stuff go for above 2,000.
He says, well, we are able to cut out the middleman. We have a lot of connections for our supplies. And he says, we can get you fitted for some nice plate armor if you'd like.
All right. It's like I'll need to sell this to get the money for it. And it's like this should probably bring in enough, I hope.
He says, indeed, I hope so.
It's
And
like my current armor has been a little inadequate.
right.
lately.
Right. Yeah, he kind of looks at your armor and he says, it is nice, but it is getting a little worn. And he says, but yes, we can definitely get you fitted for some armor. I hope that you're able to make a deal with the stone cutter shop.
All right, well, I'll go meet with him, and if I do get enough money, I will certainly come back.
Anything else in the smithing shop? He quickly writes down some information about the name of his shop and he hands it to you. And he gives his name and everything like that. And he says, yes. And I hope we'll be seeing you again. And he's still on the high of getting these tools, and he goes back and you can see him like looking at the tools even more, and he's like, and you hear him in Dwarvish, which you Toren understand. Do you understand Dwarvish, Ramune? Okay, so you don't understand this part, but you hear him in Dwarvish excitedly saying to the guy like next to him, like, "Oh my gosh, like look at these!" And he said, "I haven't seen these in years." And they're like going back and forth, like kind of talking excitedly about the tools that you brought. Um,
And Toren just starts laughing. It's like, that brings me back.
yeah, and yeah, it's really it's something that you are all too familiar with. Especially with the average typical dwarf, smithing is like their life. They love smithing. And so this conversation is not far from the many of conversations that you've had and heard, participated in. So it sounds like y'all are about to head out of the shop, right? Okay.
And I'll
Um,
be heading to that Elven Stone Smith.
okay.
Or
Let's
Stone
switch
Carver.
over Elvenstone shop. Okay, got it. Okay, perfect. All right, let's go. Let's for a second switch over to the group that went to the office. So let me just give that a switch. Now I do have everybody's tokens in this office, and I'm going to keep them in there even though you all aren't here because this is a dynamically lit office, and I don't want you to just be looking at a dark screen. So let me just I'm going to keep those there. I'm just going to put you guys in the back who aren't here. And put Cypress and Irene in the front. And okay. So Cypress and Irene, you head to the Allorian Conservation Alliance office. And it's in there's a government district of the city. Small, not as big as Elwyn would be, but few government buildings and just some large stone buildings. And you notice a distinctive sign in the just right in the in front of the building in stone letters. And it's a larger government building, but it says Office of the Allorian Conservation Alliance. Now, this is not the main headquarters, which, as you would well imagine, is in Elwyn, but this is a larger office than the other. You walk through the halls, and as you walk through, your eyes fall upon what appears to be a notice board, and it has one notice on it. Now, this notice board is you see a bunch of like papers that have been kind of looks like they've been pulled off, but there's one big one that's tacked on. It particularly stands out because it's on a wax sealed like paper, and it says it has the date of that day, even though I didn't put that on here, but it has that date, and it says, "It is my little Pukum's birthday, and the entertainment canceled, and the wait staff are on strike. We only have one cook left. We are desperate. Interested parties may apply as replacements at my house. Please come see Hardhi Pelham. Party is 2 days away. Inquire before that evening. 25 gold. Bonuses available if my Pukums is very happy." Interesting. Maybe not. But you do notice this. Pull you all to the scene for the office. Now, out of game, this notice board will change every few days. If you ever want to take a look at the notice board to see if there's anything there may be nothing, there may be something. There will be something like this. Completely optional. The notice board tasks are almost exclusively side quests, not always. And I'm not going to obviously tell you the difference, but I mean, I'm not going to tell you if they are or if they aren't, but most of the time will be side quests. Maybe to make some money, maybe to gain an important contact, but definitely not moving forward the main story for the most part. Just FYI. All right.
A Cypress actually has cook's utensil proficiency.
That's right. Cypress does. Right. Okay.
Toren can get us the food.
Yeah, it's like yeah, it's like
No, oh, okay. I will cook the bear as a bear, and that will be the entertainment.
Yeah, so
I'm just imagining Toren making balloon animals out of inflated snake skins.
exactly. Oh yeah.
no, not snakeskin, pig intestines.
Yeah.
You see, you guys already have this figured out. I mean, it's Pukums after all, right? Like, I mean, come on.
Oh, also Toren has prestidigitation. He can literally be like a party magician.
Right. There you go. See, I feel like this is you guys have already decided. Um, so yeah, so like I said, these will change. I mean, of course you can do it's 2 days away. This is kind of a casual thing you can do. But yeah, this notice board will change, like I said, every few days. So check back as much as you want. But that's what it happens to say today. We are now going to move to the office. And here we are.
Which season of The Office are we moving into?
Sorry, say that again.
I said, which season of The Office are we moving into?
I just got that. You know,
Sorry,
I've
it's
never
not a
seen,
good joke.
you know, I've actually never seen that show. Like I've never seen that
Really?
show. Is
Oh,
that terrible?
it's an even worse joke then. God. Oh
See, there we
God.
go. Yeah, like, and this is, it's like this is a kind of like a government office. A lot of interesting things happen here. I mean, I feel like y'all can mix this up a bit. Um, okay, so you see Dr. Lynn is sitting at her desk and you guys come in and she says, "Oh," and she says, "I didn't expect to see you in on your first day after the events that happened." And she says, "I assure you that an inquiry is already being made." Sorry, one second. Excuse me. She said, hold on, let me get some more. One second.
Erica, you okay?
Yeah.
Water is my friend. Okay. She says, "I assure you that an inquiry is already being made about what happened today. And Irene, I do appreciate your forgiveness of the situation. Um, be rest assured that it won't have consequences for people, it will have consequences for processes." And she kind of like nods her head and she motions to the little stools in front of her. "Have a seat. I'm glad to see you. I'm actually pleased that you've come today." Um, and she says, "So did you have any questions, or did you want me to talk a little bit about how I see us working together?"
So pretend I've moved over to the seat. Bear with me because I'm traveling. I hope the background noise isn't too obnoxious. Um, but basically, um, well, yes, no, I suspect we might be getting desensitized to these sorts of the large scale kerfuffles, but hopefully we won't see too many, and I trust and appreciate the work you've done to that end. We'll probably talk more shop when the others are with us, once we're fully recharged. But we wanted to, start planning, start getting our heads around um, any particular things or concerns or information you might need that we could prepare into the evening and morning and start tomorrow with our seats.
So I didn't quite hear. Let me turn the sound up, and I think it's because not your fault. I think it's because of uh oh, I can turn your sound up. Okay. Can you say that last thing again, please? What you were asking her? I got most of it.
Basically, yeah, not talking too much shop, but just the broader strokes of direction as to anything she has in mind for us to get looking onto, what information she might want from us, so we can put it together tonight into the morning and hit the ground running tomorrow.
Gotcha. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So she says, and you may want to put yourself on mute, Jonna, when you can. Okay. So she says, "Oh yes, of course." And then she says, "So I've been Dr. Wei, as you I believe already are aware, is here, and he is recovering in the hospital unit. Broadly, we have some rather he has some rather troubling, I would say, information that he needs to relay to you. I will allow him to do it, but apparently the person or thing, something attacked him, and that is how he ended up losing his mind a bit. But he does have some information about that person, and he has been really anxious to tell you all. And with that information, I have some investigation work that I would like you all to take on. Um, in several small villages and towns. But I think it's best that you speak with Dr. Wei first. So, 3 villages and towns that when everybody comes, I will be able to give you more detail about that may be best for you all to investigate before we get the larger government involved. And then she thinks about it and she says, oh, and there are some complications with one of them. The ambassador will also be with me. Ambassador Adia will also be with me when we have this next conversation. And then she says, feel free to come back in a few days as well to get your passes, your individualized passes, so that you can travel freely in towns and hopefully won't have another incident like that. Did you have any specific questions?
Do you have anything specific, Cody? I think I have one thing, but I'm trying to remember it.
Okay.
I can't think of anything, no.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, so basically her advice is go talk to Dr. Wei first and go see him, and then when you're ready in a few days or so, or maybe a day, come back to her and she'll have an official contract for you. That's a summary.
Seems
Okay.
straightforward.
Say it again?
I said it seems pretty straightforward.
Yes.
Go talk to Dr. Wei.
Yeah, pretty simple. Okay, and so Irene, you said you had another question for her? Were you able to think of it?
No, I think that pretty much covers everything, immediate. I think I'm pretty
And
good.
we'll be coming back, right? To if you think of it.
Yeah, we'll be back like tomorrow, so I'm good. Yeah, we know the way forward.
The way forward. Oh my god, that was like so not purposely done either, which is hilarious. How that name ended up. Okay, so all right, so sounds like y'all then are gonna head out of the office. Okay, we are going to switch back then to the shopping group. So we were headed to the stone the let's see, the stone shop, and it was something else, the leather worker shop. Okay, so let's go back. All right, let's go first to the leather shop, and all right, so leather shop now, when you again when because of what you have just been told after visiting the blacksmith shop, the leather shop that you find is also seemingly a mom and pop store, and kind of like that one. And nice and high quality leather workings more than likely will be a little bit more expensive than if you got it at a big box shop, but also better quality. And so, again, this shop is manned by a dwarves and gnomes. And gnomes are not super common in the world, and so it's not, you don't see gnomes often. In fact, in this whole town or city so far, you've seen more races than you've seen so far. The majority of the inhabitants of this territory are human. This is a largely human territory. The other territories are largely of different races of dwarves, elves, halflings, the more common races. So it is different to see, more dwarves, more gnomes. You even thought you caught a half orc or two as you headed in, just walking the streets. You haven't seen any of those yet. And so you head in again, like I said, and there's some gnomes, and one of the gnomes, kind of comes up to you and says, and he looks up at you, and he's not, he's almost eye level with Toren, a little bit shorter, but he looks up at Ramune. He kind of cranes his neck, and he says, hi, uh can we help you? Mhm. So, oh, yes, 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 of course, of course. And he says, well, old Vormir referred us, did he, hey? And he kind of laughed to himself and says, well, isn't that interesting? And then he says something in Gnomish. Do any of you know Gnomish?
Nope.
Okay. He kind of says some, oh, go ahead. Right.
Hold on a minute. Do I have tongues? No, I do not.
Okay. Exactly. How do you speak? And so he kind of like thinks, so he kind of like goes around, and he's looking around his shop, and he says something to the gnome next to him, and they both kind of like laugh at it, and he says, we have a healthy competition, and I never thought that he would refer anybody to me. Ha 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 ha. And he kind of laughs, and he says, okay, so what can I get you? Can I get you armor? Can I get you a leather bound book? Can I get you what do you want to look at? He's hide armor. And he says, yes, yes, yes. And he says, okay. And he walks over, and he says, this is the finest leather armor made from the Leather Guild in Elowin, the Leather Workers Guild from Elowin. And he kind of puffs himself up, and he says, I am, after all, a founding member. Ha ha ha. And then he takes like a piece of leather armor off, and he kind of like thrusts it at you, and he says, feel the quality. And he kind of like feels it with his hand, and he says, you see, you won't see quality like this anywhere else. Um, if you want to feel it, you could probably tell even more, but it looks good. Okay. So, are you wearing gloves? Okay. So you put your hand out and he sees this like kind of blue and it's like, oh. And he kind of like looks and he says, something happened to your hand? You okay?
Yeah, he got hit with some acid by a, let's call it not too quite sound in the head person.
He says, oh, that's terrible. Well, excuse me if I'm a little taken aback, but okay. And he kind of like takes it. He takes the thing back and he looks at it and he sees a little bit of slime on there, and he kind of takes it and sniffs it and says, anyway, and he like takes the cloth out and wipes it off, and he says, so do you want a full set of our finest studded leather? So he says something again to the guy next to him, and the guy next to him like runs, quickly runs out with his like fast as his like little legs. Another gnome, of course, can carry him, and he brings back some hide armor, and he says 20 gold for the hide, and see for the leather. Studded leather, right? Yeah, studded leather. And he says 20 gold for the hide and 90 gold for the studded. Thank you. He says, I do of course understand. Okay. He takes the leather armor and I'm sorry, the hide, right? Hide. Gotcha. Okay. And he hands it to you and he says, so since you were referred, and he says, he gives you back like 5 gold and he says, I'll knock a little off since you actually came. Why not? And he sells it to you for he gives you back 5 gold, basically. Um okay. Anything else you want to find in the store? Okay, so they're the gloves are 1 gold. Okay. And he's like, yes, I understand why you might want that. You don't want to slime everything. And he kind of laughed and said, no offense.
How was he not supposed to take offense to
Right.
that?
Like how the time when someone says like no offense like that, it's
Yeah.
It's no offense, of course. So yeah, he sells you the gloves for 1 gold. Anything else?
All right, and I'm going to ask is, hey, do you know if there's like a good alchemist or anything around here? I hunt snakes a lot, and I've got a lot of venom. Do you know anyone who might be willing to buy that? I have no use for it.
Interesting. Okay. Um, he does mention an alchemist, and we'll do the alchemist next session. Even though, because there's actually some information that the alchemist is going to be able to have. I want to spend a little bit more time on that. So yeah, so let's just say Theater of the Mind, Alchemist, maybe you go to it next, but we'll actually do it next session.
All right.
Okay. And I also actually want to say the same thing for the stone workers. So let's talk about both of those. Okay. So both the stone worker and the alchemist both have additional information that I want to give you all. Sorry. So let's hold both of those. Now, if you want to do those via RP chat, that is an option. And we're doing quite a bit of shopping, so I want to move past the shopping for today. But they also do have information that I definitely want you all to not just rush through for both. So let's go ahead and move forward past those two things, but in actual gameplay time, they happened, all in a row. Okay. Now, so are there any other shops, and you could think about this week too, though. Are there any other shops that the two of you might want to visit? So I can think about it this week before everybody meeting up at the theater. Okay.
Yeah, it's like saying that's why I'm trying to sell the poison and the statue so I can get the 1,800 gold to buy the plate armor.
Yeah, Cypress is a cheap date. You know.
Okay.
Now, what occurred to me was, which I'll probably do next week now that I've actually had the brain cell emerge, is to ask the ACA if they have any government contracts for equipment, and see if we could work something out with them.
Okay,
Equipping the agents properly should be, priority.
So government, here, let me write that down.
And look at the results we've gotten them with the basic stuff, right? Imagine how much further we could go.
Good point. Okay. Yeah, okay, we can talk about that. So we'll do alchemist, government contract, yeah, and we'll just pretend that all that was done, when it was done. And stonework. Okay, let's go to the theater real quick. Why don't we do that? And then next week, we'll start with those three places, and then we'll do what you guys want to do after that, which is probably going to be meeting up with Esta. So, all right. So let's head to the theater. So after the shopping and some some interesting banter, meeting some interesting characters in all these stores, you all meet kind of in the center of town. You all have previously discussed a time that you want to meet up, and so you all show up at the landmark at that time, and you head to the Harlequin Theater. It is a pretty large structure. The Harlequins, who make their home at this theater, are one of the last traveling theater troupes that really has the old ways. We're talking a traveling group with like a small covered cart, where people do feats of human capability that boggle the mind. And they have this large theater in town because they have a lot of patrons. There are a lot of people who give money to their foundation. That's why they built this theater. But really what they more are a old time, old school, small traveling theater that was originally formed hundreds of years ago, and still to this day does a lot of travel from town to town. It only the best of the absolute best and most talented are, are part of this group. It is possible to audition for the group, um, but it is very difficult to get in, as you would imagine. You all go up to the front of the, like, where like the ticket booth is, and you see a couple of people behind there, kind of looking bored. Nobody's in line anymore. Just kind of sitting there. You see a huge marquee that talks about a show that is happening later that week, not that night, but in like 4 or 5 days. So it appears that nothing at the moment is showing. And you also see a couple of people at the door kind of talking. They're all wearing similarly colored blue uniforms. And yeah, who would you like to speak with? Any of the people? It doesn't matter. Just the first one you see. Okay. All right. So yeah, so the closest person you see then is one of the people in front of the building. They probably ushers or something of that sort, kind of talking. And the ticket people, because there's not a show, that's kind of why you didn't currently about to play. That's kind of why you didn't go up to them. And so there's a couple of people, and one of the people is a half orc, the first one that you've spoken to in a while. And he comes up to you and he says, ticket counter over there. And he like points to the ticket counter. Yes. Mhm. And his eyes go wide, and you see him break into this big smile. And you see all these crooked, kind of jagged teeth come up, and he says, play good, very good play. And he says, you you know orcs? He says, no, very good. And he says, um you you see show, you want to see practice, the practice show inside. Come in, come in, come in. And he kind of blows past the other guy who's kind of looking a little confused, like what is going on. He swings the door open, um, and he points you inside, and he says, "Go, come on, come on." And he's still talking in the Orcish, by the way, so the rest of you don't understand, um, unless one of you knows Orcish, which I don't know if you do or not. But he kind of beckons you all in, and he leads you all through a couple of corridors, and into a huge theater. And we're just about to be done, you guys. It's the last thing. Okay. This is what you see. I can. That's interesting. Hold on. Oh, sorry. 1 second. Technical difficulties here. And this is what you see. Oh, wow. That's insane. Okay. You see black, don't you? That is great. If you guys saw what I saw right now, this map completely went on the fritz. I don't know what happened to it. Okay. Not a big deal. I'm going to take us back to the normal. I don't know what happened with this map. Not here. Let's go back here. Not a big deal. I'll take us back to the normal map, but something very strange technically happened to this map, and I don't know why it happened. So I need to talk to the Foundry Discord as to why my map went insane just now. Okay. So, I was just looking at it and it was fine, and then it wasn't fine. Huh. Okay. No worries. Okay. So, you all so you head inside, and there is, like I said, there's a large theater, and I'm going to show you. So you see, what you see is you see a number of people on the stage. They are all dressed similarly, and they are dressed like what I'm about to show you. Get the token, make it larger. They're all dressed like this, men and women, even though this is a token of a woman. They're all wearing a long blue robe that covers their head. I would make this even bigger. And they are moving in a, there we go. Okay. As big as I can get it. Okay. They're moving in kind of like an interesting but oddly rhythmic pattern. And it's difficult. They're weaving in and out of each other, and they're kind of walking very rhythmically. And you hear this music that's kind of droning on. This is unlike anything you all have ever seen. It's like they're walking in rhythm and in step and then walking out. They're wearing the exact same outfit, old time outfits, and you see a woman in front, and she is clapping in rhythm as they walk and weave in and out of each other. You see someone that's probably a bard that is banging a drum rhythmically, and they're bang, and they're doing this little dance back and forth. And then she snaps and they all stop and they immediately go in straight lines. And you hear at this point, the half orc does a little bit of a throat clearing, and she turns around fast and she looks cross. And then she says, "Who are these people?" And we'll stop there. All right.
He's like a little kid.
We shall see. I cannot believe what happened to my map, you guys. It is absolutely insane. Like, if you saw, like, this is like the map from like the issue from hell. Huh? Yeah, let me show you. It's insane. I'm gonna show you what happened because you as a DM will appreciate this. I'm like, what the hell? Like, I was literally like looking at the map because basically, when actually, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna share my screen with you real quick so you can